claim to be the most prevalent, the most popular music, but that's just definitely, you can just listen to it and know, yeah, that's a classic stamp of messianic music. We like to sing
Yeah.
from the scripture.
So you just basically answered the question that came to my mind. Like,
Okay.
how do you personally go about writing your own worship music? And so I'm going to twist my question to maybe something like, how do you know that you've honored and pleased the Lord with a song you just wrote?
It's a vulnerable thing. Sometimes I don't know. I don't know. But if you're singing his words, if you send his words out, it shall not return void. That's for sure. He's pleased with that. Um,
And the reason why I'm asking is beyond that, how do we know as worshipers, singing your songs, singing other songs, how do we know that our worship is acceptable to the Lord?
oh,
As
I mean,
opposed to the me that we've talked about, that we're saying, how do we know that the Lord is pleased with it? How do we, whether it be by, sensing his spirit within us saying that, or how do we, yeah, how do we know that our worship is acceptable to him? How do you know that about your own worship, whether it be private or corporate, like when you're leading worship?
well, I think God knows our hearts. So if you think about, Cain and Abel, their sacrifice, that was an act of worship. Um, Abel's heart was right and Cain's wasn't. That's just all there was to it. And God knew. So I think it's from the heart. Um, to come before him with clean hands and a pure heart. We go to the temple, the Kotel, the I want to say Wailing Wall, it's the Western Wall, um, with my kids, and I'll quote that scripture: "Who may ascend the hill of the Lord, but he who has clean hands and a
Sure.
pure heart." And I always tell them this is actually what this is actually talking. This is the literal hill of the Lord right now. But even to go before God in worship, we're always supposed to lay down, cast our sins upon him, ask him to forgive us, but come with a pure heart. So I think it's heart, where your
Mhm.
heart is, always.
Yeah. And he's the one who gives us a pure heart. So at the end of the day, what I'm finding as I'm getting older is that it's not so much about what I'm doing, but it's what he is doing in and through me. And he's the one who's initiating. And so at the end of the day, I find myself asking him to create in me that clean heart so
Hmm.
that I may worship him acceptably, so that
Amen. Amen.
I may delight his heart. My
Yep.
personal motto is God's glory, our delight. And because I believe that when we are created to delight in the glory of God, in the kabod, in the weightiness of his presence. And so to delight in the worship we bring him is how he delights in the worship we
Yeah.
bring him too. So I think it just
Amen.
comes full circle.